All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. I'm just super excited about today's panel. Again, I hope you've enjoyed the rest or the other sessions in Typeforum. We are super excited to be hosting this first ever event here. There will be more to come down the road, so keep your eyes out for that. I'm excited for this conversation and for this talk. I think this is going to be an amazing session, amazing time, amazing conversation. Got some wonderful panelists here with me today. We're going to be talking all things integrations, specifically how integrations with Webflow, Zapier, Klaviyo can transform Typeform experiences. And so with that said, what we believe is we're talking about through integrations, such as the ones that we're going to talk about today, is we're able to unlock additional use cases and workflows, allowing customers to accomplish more with the Typeform solution. What we believe, and I believe at my core, is the ecosystem turns Typeform into a platform. Without our ecosystem, without our partners, we're not as great as we can be. So we really give a lot of gratitude to our partners that we have, and especially the ones that we have on with us today. So again, thank you. We believe, and I believe it enables us to be more. It allows our customers to collect data more seamlessly while providing a tailored experience, to a tailored, customized customer experience. And it allows us to act on that data through automated workflows, through streamlining operations. And those insights, what they do is they create meaningful campaigns and conversations that brands and organizations can have with their customers. And what that does, it builds customer trust and loyalty throughout the process. So, who do we have with us today? Again, some amazing partners, some amazing people. The panelists, these are subject matter experts, people that I rely on heavily to make Typeform better, to make their products better. We've got Greg at Webflow, we've got Allyce at Zapier, and we've got Evan at Klaviyo. And so I'm not going to introduce them. I want them to introduce themselves and give you a little bit of background about themselves. But before we do that, we're going to be talking about streamlining business efficiencies, via automations and ecosystems. We believe that it's imperative for businesses to succeed, especially in today's environment. We're going to look at deep technical ties between partners to unlock additional use cases and workflows. We want to help you reduce friction and allow customers to accomplish more through their tech stack. And I believe it's not only something that enhances the product experience, which it does, but it ultimately gives the end customers the experience that they can drive and deliver powerful conversations. And it allows us to be effective, to cater to a broader range of businesses and needs. So integrations like those that we have with Webflow and Zapier and Klaviyo, it allows our mutual customers to streamline workflows, capture data, enrich the data, and ultimately let them action on that data, increasing the value that customers can derive from their investment and respective technologies. So with that said, Greg, let's hear what you guys have to offer.
Thanks, Dan. And hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm dialing in here from just north of Vancouver, Canada, representing Webflow. At Webflow, my role is the head of product partnerships, overseeing the growth of the Webflow app marketplace and integrations into key platforms like Typeform. Webflow, for those who aren't aware, is a website experience platform. Our goal is to become the one platform where marketers, designers, and developers can ultimately work together to build, manage, and optimize sites that drive business impact. Extremely thrilled to be here today alongside the other panelists, and I look forward to the conversation.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. Allyce, how about you?
All right. Hi, everyone. It's a real great pleasure to be here. My name is Allyce Mardesich. I run the Ecosystems and Channel Partnerships organization here at Zapier, which means I have the pleasure of working with great people like Dan and Evan and Greg and so many more to create value for our joint users, you all. Personally, I live in California in the Bay Area with my husband and 5-year-old son. And if you aren't already familiar with Zapier, Zapier is an easy to use platform that helps you automate your work without writing any code. We have over 7,000 integrations and service offerings across multiple products that empower businesses everywhere to create processes and systems that let the computers do what they're best at and let your teams focus on what they're best at. So whether you're looking to notify a Slack channel when a new lead arrives, modify a Google Sheet with a new HubSpot contact, or build your entire deal desk workflow, the possibilities really are endless when you use Zapier to multiply your team's results.
Yeah, I love Zapier. I think we got some cool things coming out with Zapier in the near future. So excited to share those later, I think. Oh, how about Evan, Klaviyo?
Hi, everyone. My name is Evan Chapman. I am a lead product manager here at Klaviyo, and I focus on our integrations. So that's everything from helping to build new integrations, maintaining our existing integrations, and really just thinking about integrations holistically. I've been with Klaviyo for a little over 2 years, and I am based out of our Boston office. For a little bit of background about Klaviyo, in case you are not familiar, we are the only marketing platform that is built for smarter relationships. We were built data first, and we built everything together: data, guidance, marketing automation, and all the channels all in one platform. This powers incredible growth by making it easy to deliver smarter experiences everywhere. Imagine someone calls into support and you immediately know everything about who they are and how they've interacted with your brand, or individually curated product recommendations sent to someone's preferred channel after they browse your website and fill out a type form. With Klaviyo, that's not just possible, it's easy. So you may have heard of us and be familiar with some of the channels that are listed there along the top for email and SMS, but I do want to emphasize that underneath those channels is really the power of the Klaviyo platform, which is our data infrastructure. And a core component of that data infrastructure are integrations with platforms like Typeform. So really excited to talk about some of those today, and thrilled to be part of the discussion.
Yeah, and I think you guys were brought up earlier today on some of the sessions, which is very exciting. Again, I'm kind of in awe of the people that we have on this panel. I don't know that I live up to the standards that we have here, but we'll try. So let's dive into some questions that I have for you all. And Evan, I think I want to start with you on where we are here. Tell us about some challenges that you see companies facing when trying to integrate marketing tools with their e-commerce or lead management platforms. How have you seen them overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one of the biggest pain points that we've seen is customers not being able to operationalize the data that they sync via integrations. So whenever you're evaluating an integration and thinking about, trying to plug that into your software stack, it's important to consider how you're going to use that data. Does the platform that you're trying to integrate with make it easy to use that data? And are the use cases for using that data robust, right? So when it comes to, for example, the Klaviyo and Typeform integration, not only is it incredibly powerful because it can be set up in a matter of minutes and you can start using it within a matter of minutes, but the use cases there are super strong, right? So once data is syncing from Typeform to Klaviyo, you can do things like personalized content in Klaviyo. You can trigger automated messages based on Typeform survey responses. And you can also include product recommendations based on survey answers. So that just shows examples of some of those powerful use cases that are possible with the integrations. I think some of the other challenges that we've seen is, depending on the integrations that are available, sometimes folks struggle with getting the unified vision of their customer interaction. So for e-commerce organizations, to your question, Dan, especially, customers are interacting with brands across many touch points. So it's critical to be able to see all of those interactions in one place. And while Klaviyo and Typeform are incredibly powerful together, you can even further supercharge that experience by incorporating data throughout the e-com ecosystem, including your e-commerce platform, loyalty provider, subscription platform, et cetera, right? So although there are some challenges, I think that if you do your due diligence up front and really think about how you can make the most of the integrations, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. And I think, when you look at data and you look at, creating conversations and data flow and silos and things. I think, Zapier, I think it's interesting. I'd like to hear at least your perspective, on how Zapier can maybe bridge some of those gaps as well.
Yeah, I think like Evan said, I mean, thinking about how you use your data smartly is key. Something a lot of customers I think struggle with is, and all of us struggle with, to be honest, is data silos in different platforms, right? Every different system we use captures different sets of data, updates them at different times, syncing. Ultimately, what this leads to is different teams with inconsistent data. We've had a customer whose solution to this, probably similar to how a lot of us have tackled this at different points, is spending hours manually transferring customer data between a Shopify store and an email marketing platform, which ultimately just leaves your team wiped out. They're not excited to do that work. Manual errors, inconsistencies, delays, right? I think these are all struggles we can relate to. Then the other thing we've seen is when teams finally do start thinking about automation, I think they make the mistake that they have to replicate that data in every system, which, I mean, it's better than manually copying and pasting things, but you're rebuilding that logic and rebuilding the workflow still siloed per product that you're using. And so with Zapier, our customers can harness data across multiple systems to inform the logic of their workflows running behind the scenes, rather than replicating the data just to build those siloed workflows in each product. We have a customer, runway.com, for example, who has a workflow that passes leads that they generate through an AI tool to automate their lead qualification and early sales engagement efforts. So with Zapier, they've automated a workflow that not only filters their prospects, enriches the data that they have for those through Clearbit, and even drafts personalized outreach emails without having to rebuild that in each of the tools that they're using.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. I think it's imperative, right, that we personalize the content, streamline the processes and the collaboration. And so given that, right, I think our website is the first place that we can provide any type of content visible to our customers or our prospects. And I think, Greg, I'd love to chat with you a little bit about how your customers are using Webflow to engage and convert those leads. We all know that you have, I think I've heard 4 seconds, 7 seconds, 3 times you have to say something. I think there's a number of different things that come out there, but to make that first impression. I think in essence, the website, right, or your company's website is that first impression. So I would love to hear from you on that.
Yeah, happy to, Dan, and thanks for the question there. I think the summary of what you're trying to get at is there's a bit of a it's tough to get folks to pay attention right now. It's hard to get folks to engage. Your website is, of course, like the front door to your business in many ways. That's your first opportunity to make a really strong first impression. What's interesting on the Webflow side is we're focused on helping marketing teams create powerful and engaging website experiences for the visitors to those sites. Of course, this is accomplished by a combination of things like a strong design system inside of Webflow that's on brand and performant. The opportunity for everyone inside the marketing team to be able to jump in and build interactive web experiences depending on what their goals are. That's kind of like the core foundation of what's required. But for us, it's trying to help our customers figure out how to take that 4 seconds or that 7 seconds and magnify that opportunity. And what I mean by that is, leveraging things like Webflow's personalization capabilities or our AI or our A/B testing capabilities in order to ensure that that first opportunity with that website visitor is as performant as possible. So I was chatting with one of our partner marketing leads about it earlier this morning, and what he was suggesting is like rather than having kind of 4 seconds or 7 seconds, you're trying to find a way to turn that into an opportunity of having potentially like building, let's say, 100 variations of a single landing page and serving that to every single visitor that's coming through your site to determine what the most performant option is, and then have that be the go forward option so that you're converting as much traffic as possible. So it's a bit of an art and a science, I would say, to creating like a really engaging, interactive experience that's on brand on your site, but then also one that's driven by data to ensure that you're actually optimizing for the things that you're hoping to, especially in a time where obviously time spans, attention spans are at a pretty low point. Hopefully that's a good starting point.
Yeah, no, I get the attention span, trust me. Mine can be quite low sometimes. So let's circle back on actually the data, right? So let's talk about like connected workflows and the idea of streamlining complex workflows. So let's continue on the end-to-end customer experience. So Evan, what are you focusing on here?
Yeah, I think that building on what Greg was saying, here at Klaviyo, one of the things that we're focused on, right, in addition to the automations that may become top of mind, browse abandonment, checkout abandonment, post-purchase, et cetera, it's not only it's that experience that Greg was talking about on your website. How do you make that consistent across all the surfaces that your brand owns, right? You want to have that same approach on your site as you have in email and in SMS and across your advertising platform so that you can build those relationships and, again, have that consistency for your customers. Importantly, Klaviyo CDP does make it possible to take your specific Klaviyo segments, your groups of profiles, and push them into on-site personalization platforms, and then power that on-site experience that we're talking about. So I think that's a really powerful way to deliver that consistent experience. And then at the end of the day, what you really want to make sure to do is see the impact through attribution, knowing how those different surfaces contributed to the ultimate action that the customer takes, which for many of our customers in the e-commerce space, that's typically placing an order. And so that's why we've really invested pretty heavily in tracking that attribution and also giving customers the flexibility to measure that attribution exactly how their business needs to.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I think we know like, workflows are almost as hot as Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce together, right? So I mean, now I look at Zapier, right, in particular, facilitating AI powered workflows. Allyce, how do you see AI transforming the way that companies streamline their workflows in the future? What impact do you think this has on businesses?
Yeah, it's amazing some of the incredible things that our customers and even our teams at Zapier are able to accomplish by building AI into their automated workflows. We've got integrations with a number of the top AI platforms out there and a lot of up and coming platforms as well. And ultimately, AI could be like a turbo boost for your workflows. It's no longer just about connecting the dots, right? We're talking about creating smart, adaptable processes that learn and evolve. One example that we've seen a customer using AI-powered Zaps is to gauge the customer sentiment within support requests in real time, and then route those support tickets to different teams or team members based on pre-established escalation paths. And when you think about this, the power of you've got a customer who's already tried to do their own troubleshooting, is clearly frustrated in their support inquiry, and you're able to jump a step or two in support protocol, which likely saves the organization time before what inevitably would be an escalation probably anyway. And your customer is just way happier for it, right? They feel seen and heard in their first interaction where they've reached out for help after trying on their own. Like, this could be really powerful. And then on top of that, we also, recognize that AI can be a powerful tool in even helping all of our users build their workflows. A lot of customers just aren't always sure where to start when it comes to automation. And so at Zapier, we've also investing in our products where we have an AI co-pilot assistant that allows you to explain to Zapier what you're trying to automate and then helps build that workflow for you from start to finish so that you, again, saving you time, energy, understanding your needs better. And I think what's really cool, Dan, this is probably what you were alluding to a little earlier, is some of our partners like Typeform are starting to bring some of these capabilities of Zapier into their products so that while you're working within Typeform and trying to automate something behind the form, you can just type into Zapier right there in your workflow. You don't have to leave, you don't have to jump between tools, and it can help you automate what's going to happen after your users submit that form.
Yeah, I like to think Typeform is the bridge between everyone's needs with every other product. We got to let our hands in a little bit of everywhere. Real quick, speaking of AI, I know Klaviyo, Evan, I know you guys, are doing some things with AI. If you have any quick thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I think that, we think about AI across a few different surfaces, right? So you have things like content generation, that can be things like generating email subject lines or even generating the content itself in an email. We also think about object generation. So an example there would be, generating segments or workflows like Allyce spoke about, and I'll step into a specific example in just a second. And then the other example is, how do you automate those interactions with your customers? Similar again to what Greg was mentioning earlier in terms of the various options that you have on your site, right? But I think the important point is that across each one of these, the most important thing is ensuring you have all of the relevant necessary data at your fingertips to inform all of that AI, right? And so by having so many integrations, especially here at Klaviyo with over 300 integrations, you can have stronger, deeper data to optimize those models and consequently those customer interactions. So to give you a specific example of how we've seen kind of AI in action on the object generation point, you can basically generate a segment of your profiles or of your users in natural language, similar to how Allyce was talking about. So, for example, let's say you wanted to create a VIP segment of people who've spent more than $1,000 in the past 1 year. You can literally type that in. The segment will be created for you. You still have the option to modify it and tweak it depending on what you need to do. But when you really think about how complex and how specific some of these segments ultimately end up being able to put that into natural language and use AI to make that even easier is a total game changer, similar to what Allyce was saying.
Yeah, so I guess it's safe to say that deep technical ties between partners allows us, using AI and using workflows and automation, allows us to unlock additional use cases and workflows. And I think, right, what that does, in my opinion, it reduces friction and allows customers to accomplish more, within their tech stack. And I think that's the most important thing that we can offer our customers, is to allow them and enable them to accomplish more. And I think, AI, again, it's could be controversial in some instances, not controversial in other instances. But I think if it's used right and it's used smartly, it can allow us to accomplish more and allow us to help our customers to get their jobs done better. So let's move right on, on that. So we have a wide audience with us today. I think over 100 attendees are listening in to what we have to say. For a B2B company, Greg, how would you recommend that they structure their lead generation and workflow, really to nurture prospects, their customers, and through that journey? What have you done? What have you seen done and seen work really well at Webflow?
Dan, candidly, I'm still trying to process the Taylor Swift reference that you dropped before, but I will.
You're welcome.
I'll do my best to move forward here. I'll be okay. I'm only kidding. At Webflow, we're of course super focused on helping teams build interactive, engaging websites that are ultimately performant. When we think about the Webflow app marketplace and building integrations into key platforms like Typeform, we're trying to put ourselves in our users' shoes to help understand, like, what are their daily workflows? What is a web designer doing? What's a content marketing leader doing? What's a marketing manager doing when they're inside of Webflow looking to build their site? And what are the key tools that are going to be critical to put in their hands inside of those workflows so that they don't have to necessarily go out into third-party tools to take action, but rather being able to do so right at their fingertips as they're building their site. One of the most common workflows we see for marketing teams when they're setting up a site, it could be a landing page, it could be their core.com, it could be a dedicated site that sits outside of their core.com, like a support center or something along those lines, is they need a way to collect information about the people that are visiting the site, i.e., they need to create a form. And through the integration that Webflow and Typeform have, a user can ultimately go in and create a Typeform as they're building their Webflow site without ever having to leave our platform, which is phenomenal. And what's interesting about that is when we're meeting with our best customers and our best agency partners, we've learned that sometimes teams will create forms quickly and potentially not focus as much on the performance of said form. So a practical example would be you have a web designer jump in and they build a landing page and they put the form where they think looks best. And they're choosing that from a perspective of their own bias and thinking like, this looks good on the page, therefore this is going to be the most performant. And there's a disconnect between the demand generation marketer who's looking for results out of that page, and then the designer that's looking for more of like a qualitative set of feedback, like design principles or something being on brand. And what we're really focused on helping our customers do right now, both through our native analytics offering called Webflow Analyze and our partners like Microsoft Clarity, Google, others like that, is giving our marketing team customers the opportunity to look at the data to make sure they're making the right decisions. So when they're going in and building that type form inside of their Webflow site, they're adding forms that are placed on the page in the right spot. They're adding forms that have the right amount of fields, the optimized amount of fields to drive the conversions that they're looking for. And so really, Dan, just to like bring it all back together, it's that idea of taking a data-based approach to the decisions that are being made for your website, ensuring that the decisions that you're making are performant, and that lead generation for management is one of those like core principles or core activities that the team is all focused on driving throughput through.
Yeah, so that's really insightful. Thanks, Greg. So for companies then who are collecting large amounts of leads or customer information, how can they ensure their data flows smoothly and efficiently? So between between platforms like Webflow, Typeform, and Klaviyo, as they scale, one, I guess, what needs to be taken into account, and then two, what are the dangers for not getting this right? Evan, from your perspective, what do you think about that from Klaviyo side?
Yeah, no, I think that, really ultimately it's about being able to operationalize that data as much as you possibly can, right? I think that, that as we've seen, through the Klaviyo and the Typeform integration, being able to use that data can help you to build more even personalized experiences, which is so incredibly powerful, right? So for example, let's say you ran a pet store and based on a Typeform survey, the customer, that they have dogs instead of cats. You can streamline your automations to send them the content, including images, text, etc., of dogs instead of cats, right? So that's a very, kind of personal interaction. And ultimately, that level of personalization is what's going to make the difference and help you build those smarter relationships with your customers and translate into the outcomes that you're looking for as a business. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, being able to tie all these pieces together again through those integrations is really where the power comes in.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I think that's excellent. Thank you so much for that. So we've covered a lot in the essence of time. We're going to move forward to some key takeaways that we have in information. So I'll go through each one of you individually, and what's one piece of advice that you want to leave our audience with? Evan, let's start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as you see there on the slide, right, now is the time to go deep. When you're installing an integration, really do your due diligence up front, right? So integrations can be incredibly powerful and they can drive that real impact if you're able to operationalize your data. So our recommendation is take the time up front to really understand how the integration works. Dig deep into the documentation, really take the time to read it, really take advantage of everything at your fingertips. Because, not only will that help you to see the value from the outset, but it's also, if you can get those things right at the beginning, you'll see the value quickly and you'll also be able to iterate from there. So really invest the time up front and really look for those integrations, like the integrations between each of these platforms, to get the most value out of them and understand the real depth that you can get.
Yeah, Allyce?
Yeah, I think when it comes to automation and the power that Zapier has, a best piece of advice is start small, but think big. And so, I mean, pick something simple like sending a new welcome email to new leads or adding a new Typeform response to a spreadsheet. And I think once you get comfortable with that, you're going to want to tackle more and explore more sophisticated workflows. We allow you to put together multi-step zaps that can qualify leads, segment customers, recover abandoned carts. And if you go straight there, it can feel a little intimidating. So just, again, the 1 to 2 step basic things, and then keep building from there. And ultimately, you'll get more comfortable. You'll figure out how to make sure there's consistency in your processes, and ultimately free up more of your team's time for strategic work.
Yeah. And Greg, what about you?
Yeah, on our side, it would be act with intention. So at Webflow, it's common for us to meet with marketing teams that are frustrated with their inability to build, manage, and optimize their websites without the need to engage like IT or engineering. It's often like locked down to certain groups within the business. Speaking candidly, like from Webflow's perspective in 2024, this shouldn't be your team's reality. Your marketing org should be able to move much quicker as it relates to website management, website optimization, and so on. I really recommend reevaluating your entire MarTech stack as we approach the end of 2024 and prioritize investment in the most impactful parts first. And honestly scrutinize like whether or not the tools that you have purchased today are delivering the value that you would expect in 2024 and beyond. One of the amazing things about like the advent and increased use of AI is that product teams like those at Webflow, at Zapier, and Klaviyo, and Typeform, we're all able to ship much faster. We're able to build faster. And your expectations of the tools that you're relying on as a marketing team should just continue to go up. So just really recommend assessing your MarTech stack through that lens. And then also just, I know across all the companies represented on this panel, we all have amazing agency partner networks. So if you're ever hitting like technical hurdles where you're just not sure how to overcome those hurdles, just know that like there are companies that we all work with and certify and validate their expertise to help you with it. So just don't get stuck in kind of a MarTech stack that's holding your team back. I just recommend trying to find paths forward where you're getting the most out of your investments and the tools that matter most.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Takeaways, advice, awesome. Greg, yeah, the agencies, lean on them, leverage them. I think we all probably have a lot of the same agencies that are in each of our programs. And so I think it's a really good call out and point. Thank you all. I know we've got some questions that we'll get to, but I want to take a second and thank you all for joining me, being a part of this. This was an insightful, thoughtful conversation, and it was unbelievable. If anyone listening has any questions or wants to get a hold of any one of these amazing people, scan the QR, check out their LinkedIn, get in contact with them. Open books over here. I think all of us, I'll speak for all of us, we're open books. If you have any questions about the products, the integrations, the workflow, automation, AI, Taylor Swift, feel free to reach out to Greg. Outside of that, again, we really appreciate it. But we did have some questions that were submitted before. And so I want to get to some of these. Evan, I think the first one that I had submitted was for you. How should marketers evaluate and value integrations when selecting new software?
Yeah, I think when you're evaluating integrations, you should, not neglect the fact that it can cost significant time and money to build a custom integration, right? And that doesn't even include the maintenance costs that you'll have to bear sort of over the long term. So as you're evaluating software, one thing is to really consider that potential as a true cost, and make sure to keep that in mind when thinking about the integrations. And then just to reiterate kind of one of the points earlier, I think that it's really important to consider how deep the integration goes, how much data is passed through, how easy is it to integrate, how easy is it to act on that data. I think all of those should be key considerations when you're evaluating new software, and that's why we're really excited, with the Klaviyo and Typeform integration, because it really does hit all of those pieces incredibly well. It's easy to integrate with, it's easy to use, and as we talked about earlier, the use cases are super powerful.
Yeah, thank you. The next one was for Allyce over at Zapier. Can you walk us through a practical example of how Zapier can be used to create seamless workflows between, let's say, Typeform, Klaviyo, and Webflow, specifically for lead nurturing and customer engagement?
Yeah, definitely. I think, some of the time too, customers, we can get confused. All of us are just like, well, wait, there's native integrations between each of our companies, and why do we need a tool like Zapier that connects them all if they already connect to one another? And I think some of it is just like, again, that multi-step functionality to have one action and trigger a workflow that's doing things in multiple tools. So that's one of the like sort of accelerants Zapier can bring in to the picture. And so one use case that we see is when a lead completes a Typeform survey, for example. With Zapier, we can trigger an action to add the contact to a specific Klaviyo list based on certain details of their responses. And simultaneously, it can push over and update Webflow CMS collections with that lead's information. So one form comes in and you've kicked off kind of two different workflows all at the same time. to allow for a personalized follow-up email through Klaviyo, dynamic content updates on your Webflow site, and ultimately streamlined your automation process to nurture your leads more effectively and provide tailored experiences to your customers.
Yeah, awesome. That's amazing. We have some time for a couple more. So I have one that was tailored for Greg. What considerations should marketing teams keep in mind when integrating multiple technologies? You know, how can they ensure it's not overcomplicating things and driving improved lead generation?
Yeah, happy to share more here. I think in a perfect world, the technologies your team has invested in should complement one another and ultimately make your lives easier. The first flag that you might not have things set up the right way or the right technologies in the stack would be that if your lives are not easier, that would suggest that something is potentially off. This could mean you have the wrong technologies purchased. This could mean your approach to like integration could use some refinement. But first and foremost, just highly recommend pushing the software vendors that you are evaluating or using to create full featured sandboxes or offering like a freemium pricing tier to you so that you can test and deploy integrated workflows before you purchase them. In my experience, most companies are equipped behind the scenes to be able to help you do this, and just really recommend that you do push, especially if it's touching, core systems of record for you, like a marketing automation platform or a CRM. Really is in your best interest to try it before you buy it, if you will. So in like the practical example of someone building their site on Webflow and wanting to add a Typeform to their Webflow site and then wanting to route those form submissions into Zapier, today you could go in, create a free account of Typeform, Webflow, and Zapier, use those integrated workflows before then investing further in each of our tools. That would be something you could do right after this call. And if anyone has questions about how to do so, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to send like a personalized walkthrough of how to get set up. And then the last point, Dan, I wanted to highlight is just sharing your feedback with the vendors that you're working with. If you're hitting roadblocks with the integrations that they claim as frictionless, that's feedback. That's why folks like the four of us have roles, is to intake that feedback and ensure that you're unblocked and that you have access to what you need to be able to set up your MarTech stack appropriately. So please be vocal about that feedback, either through our support teams or with us directly. In some cases, customers, especially enterprise customers, might have very like advanced bespoke needs. That's why we invest, all four of our companies invest heavily in our developer platforms and our API coverage so that more custom solutions can be built in those one-off cases. But in general, we try to create integrations that will solve for one-to-many use cases, and hopefully everyone in this call has what they need with what each of our companies can provide.
Yeah. That's again, Evan, Allyce, Greg, thank you. That was awesome. I think people don't realize how much we actually talk to one another. You know, if a customer has a question about one integration, but it's really the question that's for Klaviyo or it's for Zapier, or it's for Webflow, like we're slacking each other. So like we get to everything that, for every customer problem that we have, and we try to solve that. Again, I appreciate the time. To our listeners, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed Typeforum. I think we've got some awards ceremony next. I hope you guys join that. And we hope to see you again soon.